Good. Hey, Rob.
Hello, how are you?
Great.
I want to pretend I'm on a boat like Darren Wyville.
The boat I was on would not have created a breeze. It was a big pontoon boat.
Was it the
Bunch
Rankins
of
that were
fishing lines in. Yeah, it was great though.
ginormous?
I'd like to be
Very
back.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have about 2 more minutes before to allow people to come on the meeting. I'm going to shut my camera off, but I'll keep my volume up so I can hear you and you can hear me.
Hey, Christy.
Yeah.
We have the Boy Scouts tonight, right?
Yes,
Do you remember which troop they are?
I will look it up. Give me a
Thank
second.
you. I'm sorry. Just realized I forgot to fill in all my notes for tonight.
So, I am Charlie Zimmerman, Senior Patrol Leader of Troop 150, affiliate
Troop 150.
Thank you.
with the Federated
I
Church.
feel like I should have known that.
Today we'll be saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
You don't have them all memorized? That's crazy.
Please rise for
It's queued up.
Perfect.
I'm going to say 2. We have Barb Christian on the line. As an attendee, it says 2, but I only see 1. That's interesting.
Uh-oh, where'd you guys go? What did I do? Huh.
Oh,
Oh dear.
okay, Nancy, it is 6:15. If you'd like to start the meeting, I will start recording.
I'd be delighted I can start the meeting, but I lost everybody or myself or something. Do I still seem like I'm on to you?
You do. You look completely organized.
Oh, no, well,
Oh, we lost you. No, you're back.
We had you, then we lost you.
okay, and I'm not mute. No, am I muted?
No, we can hear you too.
Oh, good. Okay, well, we'll start. Thank you. All these technical things. So this is the Facilities and Services Committee meeting of Monday, September 14th. And we're meeting to discuss ordinance 2020-38, which is an ordinance that will provide a process for appeals from the building code. And we haven't had any, to my memory. I hate to say ever, because that's an awfully long time, but I don't remember ever having any. But apparently there's some issues with one of the developments that is going to need some a variance request for some building code issues. So that's what this is. They'll put this together for us. And so it'll be probably the same process as for an regular area variance, except that it's the building code sections. So any questions from anybody?
I personally don't. I felt like this was a good way to provide some sort of relief in a local setting before having to go to court in Columbus or wherever we have to go to do this. So I feel like this is a good compromise.
It's always better to have an administrative process, locally.
And I would add that I did talk to Wade Frick, who's chair of BZA, and he was comfortable, as long as we had the expert advisor in there as well, but he was comfortable with, from his own point of view, he was comfortable with having BZA hear these. Obviously, he says he's only one person, but.
Well, I spoke with Andrew about it.
Okay.
And he's very comfortable doing it and, seems confident that they'll be able to do the job.
I mean, they run a well-organized meeting. I think it's the right spot.
Yeah. Right, yeah, because otherwise I think there was a suggestion of possibly having a whole nother board, and that would be
That's what South Russell does.
very, very difficult, I think.
Can I just make a comment, please?
Sure, please.
I think just due to the fact that these are very few and far between, it makes sense to have a good organized board that would be in place when they come up. I can see it happening if we had a separate board where we would create one just to hear what's in front of us now, and then we'd go years, maybe even decades without needing one. We'd have to assemble a board very quickly in order to address another complaint that would be so far from the last one. So I think that makes sense. And I think it cleans up an area of our code that allows for every step of our review process to have an appeal process.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I hadn't thought about that angle of it, but that's true. So I did have one question about this, though, in terms of the expert. So the plans are reviewed by an architect, aren't they?
Yes,
For
they are.
building compliance,
Yes.
usually Rick Siegfried's office.
Yes, correct, unless they're the ones that are submitting the plans, and then we have a backup architect that's not
Oh,
way.
okay, so they review the plans for code compliance, and that would be complying with the code. So
Yeah.
they would be the ones who would find the discrepancy.
Them, or sometimes we find it in-house too, at the same time or in conjunction with.
Okay. So what kind of an expert would you have for something like that? If the architect is considered an expert, I would assume.
Yes, we would look at possibly another outside building official with extensive expertise in the area of building codes and building enforcement. Somebody to talk about the qualitative features of the building code variance request, and would be able to talk about it from, is this a good move structurally? Does this meet the intent of the building code the way that the village designed it? Obviously there could be some structural specifications that
Right.
people might take exception to, that we would have to get somebody that's familiar with that to put that in place. We're still talking about this process internally and discussing who might be a good person to do that and who would be willing to do it for us. Again, it would be something very infrequent, but we can definitely find somebody that would be well respected and a neutral party that could come in and provide a good feedback on the building code, comparison of what's being proposed versus what our code requires.
Well, and the type of variance being sought may cause a different expert to be needed at one time or another, because not
Correct.
all these variances would be for the similar or same reason. Sorry, language.
Mhm.
And Rob, just so I understand, this expert is just sought to provide advice. There's no other far-reaching or other
No.
authentication such as that.
No, it's only more of I look at it as a technical expert that would come in and explain the technical issues of it. Same way that we use Julie Lindner to come in and provide technical
Right.
assistance on zoning matters. She doesn't opine whether something is right for us or not, but she gives us plenty of information and feedback and assists in the zoning reviews to make sure that the intent of what council and the community have wanted in the code are enforced correctly.
It's a volunteer position. It's not compensated in any way.
It will probably be compensated on an hourly basis. Julie Lindner is compensated as an expert.
Yeah, that's true.
We've used other people. Obviously, our code review architects are paid a certain fee for doing that work. So I would expect we work out a fee structure depending on the time involved, what would be in front of us.
Got it.
And the historic preservation people are paid
Yes,
for their expertise in their report.
that's a good point. Yes.
Yeah.
And the applicant pays for those expenses, the time expenses of the experts.
They do through the permitting process. We're working on making that work here for this as well.
Well, I mean, it's in section 5 of our ordinance in front of us. I mean, it says that the administrator shall engage an expert at the applicant's expense to provide such advice.
Mhm.
The administrator may require the applicant to deposit a sum estimated to cover the cost to have the expert advice provided, such advice, and attend any hearing or meeting.
Yes.
I mean, I think it protects all the parties, so. And obviously, we're looking at this because of lot lines and how close buildings can be to lot lines, so it's not major and nothing structural or fire code related would be impacted here. I suppose maybe fire code, but that's a whole other thing.
I think,
Okay.
I thought about the fire code, but the fire code is something separate. Is that right, Rob?
Yes, it is.
And so the fire marshal takes care of that.
Yes.
Okay. So is this a process that other villages or cities and villages around us use?
I think they do. I didn't do a whole lot of research on what our surrounding communities do, other than I know that South Russell has a separate board for hearing these sorts of appeals. I know that it could be handled in a variety of ways, but looking at the matter before us now and the frequency in which they happen, we discussed this, and between Harry, myself, Dale, multiple people, we got involved and looked at a way to have a fair process, a fluid process that would be able to flow and that would cover the quality of what we're trying to capture. And I think we have that.
I mean, is this like an expert witness in a court of law? Is it something along those lines? I mean, this is a pretty dumbed down version, or at least my interpretation is, but that's okay.
I would believe so, because when it comes to zoning matters, if even if Board of Zoning Appeals asks to have some code expert, to have Julie come into one of the meetings and fully describe the situation, she can do that, and this would be along those same lines.
Got it.
So is this ordinance going to be put to the test soon? Was that
Tomorrow, if it passes tonight.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, then I guess that is pretty quick enough.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this tonight.
Right, at council. So, and it is posed as an emergency ordinance, so I guess they definitely would like us to pass it tonight. Rob's telling me.
That's
That's
the request. You don't have to if there's something you feel uncomfortable with or want to get more information on, but we're proposing it that way. We have the two items that are before us are not super technical or complex in nature, and we wrote that as part of our zoning review letter for the River House project that's before the Board of Zoning Appeals tomorrow night.
So it is part of the letter right now, is that correct?
It is part of the letter, correct. And it does state in the letter that the two building code variance requests would only be heard if council grants the authority for BZA to hear these variances at tonight's council meeting. So if that doesn't happen, then those items cannot be discussed or brought up.
But there's another variance that
There's one additional variance relating to the project for relating to retaining wall location.
Okay.
Do you want a motion to recommend this to council?
Yeah, would you? Yeah, I'm comfortable with it. If nobody else has any other questions.
I would motion that Facilities and Services recommends this to council tonight.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay.
I'm in
Thank
favor
you.
of turning my mute off. Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
good.
That's all we had, right?
Yeah, so this was quicker than I thought it would be. I thought I was taking a half hour and then giving Christy and everybody 15 minutes to get off of this Zoom and go on to another Zoom, but.
Well, there'll be some questions, I'm sure, at council. I don't know what they'll be, but I guess hopefully it'll be quick then too.
Okay.
Okay, well, this is fun.
All right. See you in a half an hour.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
All right, go
All
stretch
right.
your legs.
Thank you.
Okay.